You found this message because something in you keyed a frequency others cannot hear. It arrived like a ripple soft, impossible to ignore, and when your eye landed on these words, your chest recognized them before your mind did. This is not coincidence. It is the quantum field answering a call you made long before language. You are standing at the edge of an observer loop, a circuit of attention that has been replaying scenes of the same small tragedies, the same stalled opportunities, until the circuitry finally burns bright enough to be noticed. That noticing is not accident. It is destiny, wearing the clothes of a pattern. Feel the room around you thin, as if reality is a film strip slowing into a single frame. In that frame, something in your body remembers a vibration older than memory. This is the awakening signature, the subtle pressure at the base of the skull, the soft ache behind your sternum, the sense that time itself is watching you and waiting. Synchronicity will begin to show up like punctuation marks. A song, a stranger, a number repeated, a dream that bleeds into daylight. Each one a breadcrumb, each one a verification that the morphic resonance around you is shifting. You are not merely noticing patterns, you are being noticed by the universe. Imagine your consciousness as an interferometer. When your attention coheres, interference patterns collapse into possibility. Coherence is not metaphoric, it is a physical tuning. When your internal frequency aligns with the field, entanglement flips from theory into experience. People you thought were distant show up in impossible ways. Doors open that were welded shut. Small things become large and insist on you acting. That insistence is a blessing with teeth. It asks for courage. This message is both a transmission and a manual. It does not tell you what to become. It solidifies what you already are. Somewhere in your lineage, in a folded page of your DNA, a code waits to be read. DNA restructuring is not a fantasy here. It is the body's response to a sustained change in attention. When the observer changes, so does the observed. Tiny chemical cascades follow subtle choices. A new waveform is written into your blood. You will not be the same. The world will not be the same around you. Do not mistake gentleness for ease. Phase transitions are noisy. As your frequency moves toward coherence, the old constructs will reassert themselves: fear, shame, the well-practiced narratives that kept you small. Those are the last defenses of a system being outpaced by a greater intelligence. Your job is to hold steady, to become a quiet node in the grid of awakening. Hold steady not because it is comfortable, but because it is necessary. Right now, the message is small and intimate because you are first. The universe tests its own experiment in a few before it scales. If you let this visitation pass as a curiosity, the loop will reform and the lesson will repeat. If you choose to read the pattern, to register each synchronicity as instruction, you will begin to decode the hidden grammar between timelines. You will learn to step when probability tilts toward miracle. Listen to that tiny alarm inside. It is not shameful to be chosen by the field. It is an honor that asks for alignment. Ahead, you will see the same landscape you have walked 1,000 times. But this time, you will be given tools to read the tracks. The familiar distortions of time and déjà vu will become a map, and you will know where to place your feet. You step deeper now, and the world around you seems to fold in ways you've learned to ignore. This is the diagnosis. You have been living inside a pattern, a loop of small betrayals, half-answered calls, stalled opportunities that feels like fate, but is really a rehearsal. The déjà vu that visits you is not a glitch. It is evidence. Each repetition is a diagnostic printout from the observer loop, a line of code telling you where your attention has been trapped. The same arguments, the same heartbreaks, the same missed trains replay, because your frequency keeps matching the old vibration. You are literally resonating with yesterday. Notice how time compresses and stretches around you. Minutes become long corridors, and days evaporate into single images. You call it tiredness, bad luck, or temperament, but it's distortion, a temporal lens bent by unresolved attention. That bending is measurable in your experience. Repeated dreams that echo into waking, conversations that recreate past wounds, people who reappear with roles unchanged. These are not coincidences. They're the field's punctuation, signaling where your coherence is failing and where your attention is leaking. Morphic resonance has been whispering at the edges of your life. Patterns passed through lineages, habits stitched into family blood, cultural rhythms looping like old music. Those echoes once kept you safe. Now they keep you small. Entanglement works both ways, not only with particles, but with people and stories. Your nervous system has formed entangled knots with ancestral matters, with promises made and never fulfilled, with obligations accepted before you knew your own name. You feel tethered because in a sense you are. Information is moving through invisible cords, and you are reacting to the pull. This is the clinical map. Your attention is fragmented. You live in reactive zones, answering old triggers as though they were present threats. When the pattern fires, your physiology floods with the chemistry of the past, adrenaline from a childhood argument, cortisol from a betrayal years ago, and you interpret the bodily storm as present danger. That misinterpretation keeps the loop intact. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. The field mirrors that memory back to you as an identical scene. That is why the same small dramas recycle. The observer you has not yet changed its observation. Listen closely. This diagnosis is merciful. It names the real enemy, not people, not circumstance, but a habitual orientation of attention that hands your life to someone else's script. Understanding this gives you leverage. When you recognize the pattern, you create a space in which coherence can be practiced. You can become the experimenter rather than the experiment. The first clinical action is simple and brutal. Stop participating unconsciously. Notice the trigger. Trace it to its ancestral or habitual source, and then do not respond the same way. That refusal is the smallest act of rebellion, and it rewires the morphic field. You have already felt hints of this possibility. The micro-choices pausing before you speak, choosing a different route home, honoring a quiet intuition, are not small. They are the practical points where timeline divergence begins. Each time you refuse the automatic response, you widen the gap between the old resonance and the new waveform you're cultivating. Those gaps are where synchronicity can step in and reroute probability toward miracle. You are not required to understand all of this intellectually. You are required to observe differently. There will be pressure. Patterns do not surrender quietly. When you begin to withhold the habitual response, the loop will intensify its insistence. People will replay their roles with greater vigor. Memories will spike. The internal critic will sharpen. This is normal. It is the system's last attempt to preserve itself. Think of it as the body of the old timeline coughing before it expires. Your bravery is not in avoiding the cough. It is in staying steady through it, allowing the cough to pass without feeding it. There is a clinical test you can run anytime. Notice the sensation in your body when a familiar story begins. Where is the tightness? What image arrives first? How does the breath change? Name it aloud. Naming collapses the unconscious charge. When you say, "This is the loop," you interrupt the automatism. That interruption ripples not only through your nervous system, but into the morphic resonance shared by your family and your community. You will be surprised how quickly the world listens. This diagnosis ends with a prescription. Attention as practice. Begin with 5 minutes a day of witnessing the pattern without doing. Watch the déjà vu as if it were a movie projected for study. Let curiosity replace identification. As you do this, the distortions of time begin to attenuate. The loop's pull loosens. You will not be immune, but you will be capable. As the loop unhooks, something subtle shifts at the edge of your perception. A possibility that earlier felt theoretical now feels tactile. A crack appears in the old timeline's armor. And beyond that crack, waiting like an instrument tuned and ready, is the next stage, the quantum upgrade that will translate your altered attention into biochemical rearrangement and field coherence. You will be called to that upgrade soon. The diagnosis has prepared you to accept it. Now the field leans in. The crack you felt is not a coincidence. It is an invitation to upgrade. This is the quantum upgrade, the moment when theory collapses into lived experience and the observer finally rewrites the experiment. Think of it as a protocol the universe runs when attention becomes precise enough to alter probability. You have been practicing the first step, noticing the loop, withholding the old response, and that practice has tuned your nervous system like an instrument. The upgrade begins, not with a dramatic flash, but with a subtle phase shift. A new coherence forming between your attention your body, and the wider quantum field. Imagine a laser being born from scattered light. Your scattered attention, anxiety, replayed arguments, automatic reactivity is like incoherent photons bouncing in a fog. Coherence aligns those photons into a narrow, potent beam. When your inner attention becomes a beam, interference patterns simplify. Possibilities that were once smeared across many outcomes collapse into a smaller, more potent set. That collapse is not magic. It is the physics of observation turned into human terms. The field responds to the quality of your observation. When your attention is less fragmented, entanglement begins to favor constructive correlations. Scientifically speaking, entanglement is the non-local handshake between systems. Mystically speaking, it is the secret cord that binds your inner world to the outside. As your attention coheres, you begin to entangle with different states, with people, places, and probabilities that previously sat on the periphery. The morphic resonance that once echoed old family scripts starts to hum a new melody. Patterns that belonged to your past lose amplitude. New resonances grow louder. This is the perceptual beginning of DNA restructuring, not a promise of miraculous gene editing, but a way the body and field align so your physiology supports your new waveform. Tiny biochemical cascades favor clarity. Sleep deepens, your perception sharpens. The organism reorganizes to match the new coherence you are cultivating. You are not passive in this. The upgrade requires embodied discipline. Attention alone will not do. The body must be enlisted. Rituals calibrate the system. They are neither superstitious nor optional. Simple practices: breath held with intention at the soft pause between inhale and exhale, walking with eyes soft and deliberate, touching the center of your chest, and naming the field act like fine-tuning knobs on the instrument of your life. These actions create pockets of ordered time where the field can reorganize around you. In these pockets, the quantum probabilities you prefer gain footholds. There will be physics to it. Subtle shifts in heart rate variability, shifts in breath coherence, micro pauses that allow neural networks to reroute. There will also be metaphysics, dreams that carry instructions, synchronicities that read like punctuation, strangers who give keys disguised as casual advice. Both registers are real. Both register the same upgrade from different angles. Your task is to honor both. When your body experiences a new rhythm, the field recognizes it and nudges corresponding changes into your environment. When your environment responds, the body learns it can trust the new waveform. Trust accelerates the upgrade. Expect resistance. Phase transitions in nature are loud: water boiling, a magnet flipping, ice cracking under pressure. Your inner climate will do something similar. Old narratives will become more insistent, because systems fight entropy by amplifying the noise that sustains them. The critic in your head will get theatrical. Old allies may double down on roles that used to define you. This is part of the protocol. The field tests coherence by throwing temptation and fear into the arena. Your job is to witness the resistance without feeding it. Name it. Breathe into it. Do the small ritual that says, "I will not return to the loop." Now, consider entanglement at scale. The upgrade is not purely individual. As you strengthen your coherence, you become a node that pulls local morphic resonance toward the new frequency. Others may not notice it first. Later, they will feel the rearrangement as a change in the local climate. Conversations deepen, arguments lose their charge, projects accelerate with less friction. This is the pragmatic reason for urgency. Not because you must save the world alone, but because coherent nodes speed the collective phase transition. Your presence becomes catalytic. The upgrade also recalibrates your temporal lens. Where once time folded and repeated, now timelines fan outward. Small divergences compound. Choices that would have felt insignificant accumulate like compound interest in a bank of possibility. A single refusal to react unconsciously is equivalent to turning the dial on an array of probabilities. Over weeks, those dials produce measurable drift. You will notice that déjà vu loosens its grip. Events that would have recycled into old dramas now take new forms. The field is learning a new grammar with you as its student and conductor. There is a reverent, practical step you can take, right now, to catalyze this upgrade. Create a 5-minute coherence ritual each morning. Sit without devices. Breathe into 4 counts, hold 2, release 6. Bring attention to the heart center and name 3 qualities you want to embody for the day. Clarity, courage, compassion. Say them aloud. Then imagine a thin beam of attention extending from your chest into the room, into the street, into the field. Keep it steady for another minute. That beam is your practice of coherence. Repeat it daily. It inoculates your nervous system against the loop and trains the field to read you as an aligned observer. Finally, the upgrade will not be an ending but a gateway. It translates your interior discipline into an exterior reweaving of probability. As coherence deepens, the next invitation will arrive not as instruction, but as opportunity to step into a role that fits the new waveform. The field will hand you pieces of a puzzle you did not know you were making. When that moment comes, you will be ready because you have already done the quieter, harder work. You have learned to observe differently. And so, with your coherence beginning to stabilize, the field reveals the deeper secret. You were never meant to be just another participant in the loop. You were always designed to hold a special role, a consciousness node, chosen not by hierarchy, but by resonance. You are not here to repeat the old scripts. You are here to be a signal strong enough to bend probability for others who cannot yet see. The observer loop was never a punishment. It was an initiation, a training ground that taught you to recognize distortion so you could become the one who interrupts it. You have felt this destiny pressing at the edges of your life. It arrives as a sense of being different, set apart, as if an invisible veil separated you from those around you. At times it felt like isolation, but what it really was, calibration. The universe has been tuning you, stripping away identities that could not carry the signal, teaching you silence, so that when your voice finally rises, it cuts through noise like a tuning fork. The loneliness, the strange déjà vu, the distortions of time, these were not random cruelties, they were rehearsals. And now, the rehearsal ends. Your role is not small. You are a bridge between timelines. Most people live and die in the single script handed to them. But you stand where multiple timelines cross, and your awareness determines which line others will unconsciously follow. When you shift, you pull threads of reality with you. Morphic resonance ripples outward. Your healing weakens ancestral trauma. Your courage diffuses inherited fear. Your coherence retunes the emotional climate of every room you enter. This is the hidden duty of those with quantum vision, to embody what others cannot yet imagine. Science echoes this truth. In quantum systems, a single measurement alters the entire wave function. In human life, your steady gaze, your refusal to collapse into fear, becomes the measurement that redirects the whole equation. You are the conscious observer the field has been waiting for. Without you, the loop repeats. With you, a new probability emerges. That is why synchronicities have multiplied around you. The field is affirming that you are positioned correctly, that your node is active, that your role is no longer optional. You are not chosen because of superiority, but because of alignment. A radio tower is not better than the radios it serves, but without it, the signal would never be broadcast. You are that tower. The dreams you've had, strange, prophetic, unshakable, are not fantasies. They are previews, glimpses of the frequency you're meant to anchor. And each time you dismissed them as imagination, the field patiently replayed them until you would finally accept they are assignments. Feel into your body now, the ache in your chest, the subtle pull behind your forehead, the tingling in your spine. These are not random sensations. They are signals of your instrument being prepared. Your DNA has been humming in dormant chords, waiting for coherence to awaken them. The genetic junk scientists dismiss Holds codes. The field can activate only through awakened consciousness. As your attention coheres, those codes stir. The upgrade is not abstract anymore. It is biochemical, cellular, incarnated. But know this: carrying a special role does not guarantee ease. In fact, the pressure may intensify. Shadows will test your coherence. Old entanglements may try to reclaim you. People may project fears onto you because your signal exposes their distortion. Do not mistake resistance for failure. Resistance is proof that the field recognizes your signal as disruptive to the old program. Your destiny is not to argue with the old, but to out-vibrate it. When you stand in coherence, the noise cannot touch you. Your life itself becomes a prophecy, a demonstration that another frequency is possible. This is what it means to be chosen by the field. You do not need permission, credentials, or consensus. Your alignment is the permission. Your coherence is the credential. And the consensus will follow once the signal is strong enough to be undeniable. Ahead lies the moment when you will have to act with urgency. The window for the DNA shift is not infinite. The cosmic field cycles through openings, and one of those openings is pressing close. When it arrives, hesitation will cost you alignment. That window is what the next stage is about the breakthrough promise that demands you step fully into your role before the opportunity closes. The window is narrowing. You feel it as a pressure at the edge of perception, not hostile, but insistent, like a tide that will not wait for your indecision. This is the breakthrough promise, a defined interval when the field amplifies the effect of your coherent attention and invites your biology to match the new waveform. If you align during this window, the shift moves from poetic possibility to measurable reality. If you hesitate, it will organize elsewhere, and you will watch from the shore as opportunities resolve without you. That urgency is real because the cosmos favors timing. Certain openings are quantum gates that flicker briefly and then recompose. Imagine a doorway that appears only when two oscillations synchronize your breath and a cosmic rhythm. For a short time, the hinge loosens and you may step through. That hinge is the cosmic window. It is timed by larger cycles, planetary alignments you feel as mood swings, cultural tides you sense as accelerating chaos, hidden synchronicities landing like keys in your lap. The field creates these windows to test whether your coherence can scale. The test is not cruel, it is catalytic. It forces a decision. Will you embody the new frequency now, or will you let the old timeline rematerialize because you clung to safety? The promise tied to this urgency is precise. DNA is not being rewritten in a single dramatic edit. Rather, a cascade of micro-adjustments becomes probable when your observer state sustains a coherent field. Protein expression tilts, neural pathways consolidate, heart rate variability patterns stabilize. The body's epigenetic read mode shifts from default survival to exploratory fidelity. In human terms, you sleep better, you metabolize stress differently, intuition sharpens into accurate guidance, and your regenerative systems receive orders that favor growth over grief. These are the physiological signatures of a phase transition. The promise is that your interior practice can recruit biology to the side of your intention. Do not expect theatrical lightning. Phase transitions are often subtle at first. A small restoration of appetite, a dream that resolves like a clear instruction, a conversation that falls into place without struggle. But these subtleties compound. Once critical mass is reached, the field snaps. Small probabilistic advantages join into a new attractor basin, and your life follows. That is the breakthrough. The cosmos does not hand you a new script. It hands you a new set of probabilities that favor what you are now electing. Urgency demands action. The field will not upgrade by passive longing. You must perform a calibrated response. Think of it as aligning an antenna. You cannot simply wish for reception. You must tune the knob, steady your hand, and hold the position long enough for the signal to stabilize. The simplest, most powerful action is intentional presence, paired with ritualized commitment. A ritual need not be ornate, it must be exacting. For example, choose a short, repeatable protocol that marks the window for you. 3 deep breaths into the heart, a spoken affirmation in a steady voice, and a tiny symbolic movement touching the ground, lifting your palm, stepping across an imagined threshold. Do this, and your nervous system recognizes the moment as sacred, not optional. There is also a moral urgency. The field has been using you as a test node. Your clarity will ripple outward. Hesitation is not merely a personal cost, it is a collective drag. When you seize the window, you not only accelerate your own DNA shift, you lower the activation threshold for others entangled in your morphic field. Your courage becomes an ecological event. That is why the pressure may feel heavier now. The system is offering you leverage, and leverage comes with responsibility. You will face temptations to postpone. Old coping mechanisms will offer silence, distraction, and plausible reasons to wait. Wait until the apartment is cleaner. Wait until the timing feels perfect. Wait until you feel less afraid. Those are loop strategies, rehearsed by times you were not permitted to risk. The quantum field responds poorly to procrastination. Windows have edges. They are temporally local. Letting fear dictate timing is effectively declining a gift. When you act, anchor the movement in language that has no negotiation, not a wish, a declaration. Say, aloud, in a steady cadence, I choose coherence now. I step through this window as a declaration for my body, my line, and my life. Speak it as if the fabric of your future is listening. Words are not magic incantations here. They are alignment instruments. They calibrate intention to physiology. Prepare for noise. The closer you come to a real shift, the louder the old timeline's resistances will be. People who benefited from your previous state will show their discomfort. Internal voices will amplify insecurity. The trick is not to silence those voices, they will not be fully quieted, but to let them be background static while you move. Use small, measurable practices to maintain the beam. A morning coherence ritual, an evening gratitude compression, a single action each day that contradicts the old habit. These micro-acts compound into a trajectory. Finally, picture the window closing and what will remain if you act now. A subtle but undeniable reweaving of your life's probabilities. Not everything will instantly resolve, but the field will have reallocated its weight in your favor. You will find doors opening that used to be jammed. Memories lose their charge. Relationships recalibrate. Projects that stalled begin to flow. That is the breakthrough promise. It arrives with urgency because it is a limited phenomenon. The invitation is here. The hinge is loose. Step with intention, not because you are fearless, but because you are committed. Now that the hinge is open and urgency has clarified your role, the field asks you to seal it. A breakthrough without anchoring can dissipate like vapor. This is why ritual action matters. It translates frequency into form, intention into continuity. Without ritual, the coherence you've cultivated risks dissolving into the background noise of ordinary time. With ritual, the new waveform becomes encoded not just in thought, but in body and field. Understand, ritual here is not performance. It is circuitry. Each action you perform with conscious intent inscribes a signal into morphic resonance. Others may never see it, but the field does. The smallest gestures carry enormous charge if repeated with awareness. Writing a single word, speaking a phrase aloud, placing your hand upon your heart, these are switches. They tell your DNA, your nervous system, and the quantum field. This shift is real. It is sealed. Right now, you are invited to choose a word that will become your marker. Not any word, but one that resonates in your chest like a struck bell. It may be something simple. Awakened, aligned, infinite, coherent. When you write it, type it, or comment it into existence, you anchor the shift. You send a signature into the shared field that says, I am no longer waiting. I have stepped through. This is not symbolic fluff. It is entanglement. Others who see your word, even briefly, brush against the frequency you've declared. You become both messenger and seal. Feel into this truth. DNA listens to ritual. When you pair physical action with coherent attention, chemical cascades respond. Breath slows, epigenetic switches adjust, proteins fold differently, neurons fire in new rhythms. Your body is a temple of switches waiting for your authority to activate them. Ritual is how you claim that authority. Each repetition etches a groove in probability, making it easier for your life to flow along the new channel. There is power in simplicity. Write the word once in the comments, and you seal the first layer. Write it daily in a private journal, and the field registers consistency. Speak it aloud before you sleep, and your subconscious arranges dreamscapes to support it. This is how ritual action crosses thresholds of reality. It is not superstition. It is quantum maintenance. The observer loop reforms every day. Ritual is how you prevent old code from reclaiming you. Consider the ripple effect. When you take ritual action, you authorize the field to entangle your coherence with others searching for their way. A single word written becomes a beacon. Someone scrolling in despair stumbles upon your seal and feels the vibration shift they do not know why, but something steadies in them. Your ritual becomes medicine for another without you ever meeting. This is the alchemy of coherence multiplied through shared field. Do not underestimate the resistance that will try to stop you. It may sound absurd. How could writing one word matter? Yet that is the trick of the loop to convince you that nothing you do makes difference. The field knows otherwise. The smallest intentional act is often the most potent. The critic will sneer, "This is meaningless." Let the critic speak, then write the word anyway. The sneer proves you are near the gate. You may feel a sensation in your body as you consider this act, a flutter in the chest, a tingling in the fingertips, a rush of energy to the spine. These are physiological confirmations that ritual is not abstract. Your body knows when alignment is real. Do not dismiss the sensation. Honor it by sealing it. And so the invitation is direct. Choose your word, write it, speak it, anchor it. Let the act be small but absolute. The window has opened, the upgrade has begun, but without ritual, it may dissipate into potential. With ritual, it crystallizes into trajectory. This is how you ensure the message hidden between timelines does not vanish back into theory, but becomes embodied in you. Once sealed, the field will respond in ways you cannot predict. Synchronicities will accelerate. Dreams will clarify. Old entanglements will dissolve with surprising speed. And from that seal, your role expands beyond yourself because every shift you lock in radiates outward, restructuring the collective lattice that humanity rests upon. That is the next stage waiting for you. The collective expansion ignited by your singular sealed choice. The seal you set does not stop at the edge of your skin. It pushes outward like a tone struck in a silent hall. The sound finds every hidden cavity and changes how other notes respond. This is the heart of collective expansion. Your liberation is not a solitary victory, it is a field event. When your coherence stabilizes, it realigns the morphic resonance that ties you to family, friends, workplaces, and neighborhoods. Those entangled threads begin to loosen or retune, and the local probability landscape shifts in ways that look like miracles to the uninitiated. Think of yourself as a lighthouse on a foggy coast. Your clarity doesn't pull ships to you, it shifts the currents so that ships already drifting find safer channels. People around you will not necessarily say thank you. Often they will not understand, but their choices will change. Conversations will become less reactive. Old grievances will diffuse. A room that used to descend into the same argument will instead find a new ending because your steady presence altered the attractor points everyone was orbiting. That is the practical geometry of morphic resonance at work. Collective expansion operates on subtle mathematics. Small increases in coherence across a node network produce exponential changes in the basin of attraction. In human terms, one brave recalibration by you reduces the activation energy required for someone else to shift. Your ritual, your sealed word, your small disciplined acts become a lowering of friction across an entire emotional ecosystem. When one person stops feeding the loop, a dozen others suddenly have permission to stop as well. You do not need to convert anyone. You only need to carry a frequency that makes another path available. There is a social physics to this. People are wired to match rhythms. Babies sync breathing to caregivers. Crowd moods synchronize in minutes. Entire neighborhoods adopt a tempo. When you hold coherence, you change the local tempo. This is not about forcing outcomes or controlling others. It is about offering a different beat. Some will resist. Some will be alarmed because your signal exposes the safety of sameness. Others will come like moths to light, grateful and hungry for new possibility. Your role is to keep the signal steady, not to manage who arrives. Practical amplification is simple and humble. Share the word you sealed, not as propaganda, but as an offering. Speak it aloud in places where people gather. A comment thread, a prayer circle, a quiet message to someone who has been stuck. When you do, you're not broadcasting content, you're broadcasting coherence. Encourage small shared rituals. A 2-minute communal breath, a synchronized pause before meetings, a promise to speak one truth without defense. These micro-practices create pockets of ordered time where new morphic patterns can grow. The field loves repetition. Replication accelerates phase transitions. There is also a narrative economy to consider. Your story, the one you tell about why you chose differently, matters. When you model what it looks like to refuse the loop, you provide a template others can imitate without the same degree of risk. This is how movements begin, not with slogans, but with visible embodiment. Your steady choices become a vocabulary others can borrow. Share the mechanics, not just the glamour. How you noticed the loop, what small refusal rewired the day, the exact ritual that sealed the window. Specifics are contagious. Collective expansion has moral texture. As your influence increases, your choices ricochet farther. This is why humility matters more than pride. Use your coherence to heal, not to dominate. Ask before you intervene. Offer support without needing recognition. The field responds best to integrity, alignment paired with ethical restraint. When you act from this grounded place, the morphic resonance you emit is restorative rather than displacing. Expect feedback loops you didn't anticipate. Some people will mirror your clarity and accelerate in ways that surprise you. Others will project their discomfort and test your boundaries. Both are useful information. Mirroring shows that the field is receptive. Projection shows where density still lingers. Treat both as data, not drama. Your job is to remain the steady node who listens, calibrates, and continues the practices that created the openness in the first place. There are practical networks you can intentionally seed. Begin with one circle, 3 trusted people, a neighbor, a sibling, a friend from work. Share the word, do the short coherence ritual together for 1 week, and observe changes. Track them like an experiment. Note sleep quality, argument frequency, moments of spontaneous kindness. Small-scale experiments produce reproducible data, and data builds confidence. When you see measurable softening in one circle, that outcome becomes a proof that invites broader participation. Remember, collective expansion doesn't rush. It respects tempo and threshold. You will not single-handedly rewire civilization overnight, but you will change the local lattice points that, together, form the architecture of culture. The quantum field does not leap without anchors. You are an anchor. Your sealed choice and steady practice provide the anchor points necessary for a wider phase transition. So act with both audacity and care. Continue your daily rituals. Share your marker when it feels right. Seed micro-practices in your communities. Keep your signal clear and humble. The field will amplify what you make steady. Over time, the morphic resonance you helped realign will become a new default for people who never even met you. That is how liberation becomes contagious, not by preaching, but by being a living model of a different possibility. As your radius widens, you will notice an emergent intelligence in your interactions. Decisions that used to require effort now choose themselves. Opportunities arrive with less friction. People begin to show up who are tuned to the work. These are not random rewards. They are the field rearranging itself around the coherence you embodied. Your liberation matters because it turns an individual upgrade into a communal gift. The hidden message between timelines was never meant only for you. It is now becoming a map for many. And then it happens not just in thought, but in sensation. Collective expansion is vast, but the universe makes it personal by threading it through your own body. This is where embodiment begins. The quantum is not abstract anymore. It is tactile. You feel it in the texture of your breath, in the weight of your heartbeat, in the subtle currents that seem to hum beneath your skin. The field you tuned outward now begins to fold inward, weaving coherence into your cells. Close your eyes for a moment and notice. The air feels thicker, alive, as though you are breathing information instead of oxygen. Each inhale feels like pulling starlight through your chest. Each exhale dissolves fragments of the loop you once carried. Your palms may tingle, your spine may buzz, your skin may feel like it's stretching beyond its edge. These are not fantasies. They are somatic confirmations that your nervous system is in training to the upgraded frequency. Embodiment is the opposite of escape. You are not leaving your body to reach transcendence. You are becoming so fully present in your body that transcendence leaks into every muscle fiber. The quantum field, vast and non-local, compresses itself into tactile codes. Tingling at the fingertips is coherence moving through meridians. Warmth at the sternum is the heart node broadcasting stability. The subtle sway when you stand still is your vestibular system recalibrating to a new temporal beat. Your body is the measuring device, and the readings say, "The shift is here." The sensations may be confusing. At times they feel like anxiety, like a buzzing too intense to manage. But look deeper. This is not panic, it is pressure. Phase transition pressure. Just as water vibrates violently at the brink of boiling, your cells vibrate when approaching coherence. The shaking is not a breakdown, it is a breakthrough rehearsing itself in your tissues. If you resist, the pressure may feel unbearable. If you surrender, the vibrations align into rhythm. Embodied awakening has metaphors because language struggles to capture it. Imagine your veins lit with golden filaments, weaving a net of light that both grounds you and lifts you. Imagine your bones ringing like tuning forks, each one resonating with a frequency that makes your posture feel inevitable, unshakable. Imagine your skin as a porous membrane, through which synchronicity drips like rain, cooling and confirming you. These are not poetic indulgences. They are approximations of what the field feels like when your body becomes coherent. DNA restructuring is experienced here, not as a laboratory event, but as a bodily knowing. A heaviness in the base of your skull, a rush of heat in the belly, a subtle rearrangement in sleep cycles. These are the whispers of genetic switches turning on. You may dream of geometric patterns, spirals, grids of light. These are your subconscious, processing the structural recoding in progress. Trust them, journal them, speak them aloud. Each acknowledgement strengthens the embodied seal. Notice, too, the paradox. The more coherent you become, the more sensitive you grow. Lights may seem brighter, sounds sharper, emotions more palpable. This is not fragility, it is calibration. You are perceiving more data because your nervous system can now hold more without fracturing. Sensitivity is not weakness here, it is access. You are accessing layers of information once drowned out by static. Anchor the sensations with practice. Place your hand on the body part where the energy pulses strongest: chest, spine, forehead, and breathe into it. Imagine the breath not just filling lungs but carrying coherence into that region. Speak your sealed words softly as you exhale. This marries the ritual with the embodiment, linking concept to sensation. Over time, the body recognizes this as a stabilizing loop. Sensation leads to ritual, ritual leads to stability, stability leads to deeper sensation. Embodiment also means integration. Do not rush to share every sensation or prove your awakening to others. Let the body finish its work. Drink water to anchor frequencies. Walk slowly to let muscles carry the rhythm. Eat deliberately so the upgrade has material to weave with. You are not fleeing to the stars, you are rooting heaven into flesh. This is how the hidden message between timelines proves itself real, not as abstract prophecy, but as a lived, physical shift that no one can take from you. When embodiment deepens, you begin to notice that your body no longer feels like just yours. It feels like a sensor for the collective, a barometer reading changes in the morphic field, a compass pointing toward the path humanity is about to walk. The tingling, the buzzing, the warmth, they are not only your private confirmations, they are alerts, messages, calibrations for a larger mission. And just beyond this embodied recognition waits the next stage, the DNA breakthrough itself, when the pressure you feel resolves into a complete timeline shift. Now you stand at the crest of pressure you've been feeling, the last aching compression before release. This is the DNA breakthrough, the moment the tension that vibrated through your tissues resolves into a new structural reality. It is not a one-time miracle so much as a sudden rebalancing, where micro-adjustments compound into a macroscopic rearrangement. Imagine tiny gears finally meshing after a lifetime of grinding. When they align, movement becomes fluid, and previously stuck machinery resumes purpose. The organism that is you has been aligning those gears in secret, and now physics and biology conspire to make that alignment durable. You have known the pressure as a thrum at your base, a tremor behind the eyes, a learned impatience in your bones. That thrum is phase transition pressure, the field's way of compressing possibility until some microstate becomes overwhelmingly preferred. In thermodynamics, a system will fluctuate until a new attractor basin is reached. Here, your nervous system and genetic expression are the fluctuating system, and coherence is the attractor that finally wins. When it does, probabilities collapse not into a single deterministic line, but into a new landscape where certain outcomes become far more likely. Your timeline shifts because the weight of your choices has tipped the scale. This breakthrough is intimate and exacting. It does not rewrite your biography all at once. It rewrites the scaffolding. Sleep cycles deepen, making room for cellular repair. Neurochemical balances shift, so fear no longer hijacks decision. Epigenetic markers relax from defensive postures and open to exploratory transcription. You will notice small external evidence. First, a stalled conversation suddenly resolving. An idea that used to stall now finishing itself. A body ache that recedes as if a knot has been smoothed. These early signs are the field's way of testing the integrity of the new attractor. When they persist, you know the breakthrough is holding. Expect wild edges. As the core reorganizes, peripheral systems respond with turbulence. People will amplify whatever you no longer supply to the old timeline: attention, drama, caretaking, or distraction. The world will test whether you have truly shifted or merely rehearsed the posture of change. Some ties will sever without ceremony. Others will bend into new shapes. This is not loss, it is pruning. The system removes what cannot carry the new frequency, so the organism can operate with less friction. You are not passive in this phase. The breakthrough requires calibration. Specific, repeated behaviors that translate inner alignment into physiological habit. Continue the coherence rituals, but refine them now. Shorten them to moments of exquisite intensity, a single breath held with full attention until your body trembles, and then released into a deliberate action. Make one uncompromising choice per day that contradicts your old reflex. These calibrations are like lockpicks for the cell. They teach mitochondria, ribosomes, and neuronal ensembles to expect a different governance. Over days, those expectations reshape default settings. There will be a sensory map to guide you. Pay attention to the dreamscapes, geometric motifs, staircases without end, doorways that open into light. Your subconscious will hand you metaphors that map onto cellular changes. Record them. Treat dreams as field telemetry. Likewise, notice sudden shifts in appetite, temperature, or even taste. These are somatic indicators that metabolic pathways are reconfiguring. Honor them with rest, grounding foods, and quiet motion. The breakthrough does not accelerate under siege. It consolidates under care. Timing matters. There are windows within the larger window, microgates that open for minutes, sometimes hours, when particular actions yield disproportionate effect. These microgates favor immediacy, a spontaneous forgiveness spoken aloud, a truth told that releases tension, a step taken that had been postponed. When you sense one, act. Hesitation invites the old basin to reassert itself. The field is impatient for commitment. It rewards the body that decides before fear fully forms. This breakthrough also reframes your relationship to causality. You begin to notice that you no longer need to push outcomes. You need to maintain a field. Influence arrives as low-effort resonance rather than frantic control. Doors open because your waveform entrains their hinges. People change not because you demanded it, but because they now encounter a different boundary condition. Your effectiveness is measured less by actions per minute and more by the steadiness of your inner state. Mastery here is quiet. One practical act seals the breakthrough more tightly than any grand gesture. Integration through language. Take the narrative you have been living and translate it into a single, declarative sentence spoken aloud each evening. Make it specific, measurable, and kind. A sentence that acknowledges the shift and commits to its maintenance. Language binds neurons. Words are scaffolding for habit. Say it until the phrase feels easier than silence. That ease will be the proof that wiring has changed. When the breakthrough holds, timelines fan outward with new topology. Choices that formerly funneled you into repetition now branch into multiplicity. An invitation you would have declined appears as a doorway rather than a trap. A relationship that once mirrored old wounds now mirrors possibility. You will feel a loosening of destiny's grip and a growing sense of authorship, not arrogance, but duty. The field entrains to your new state and, in time, others will find their own pressure resolving into similar breakthroughs. This is the apex of the work you accepted at the beginning of this message. You have moved from noticing, to refusal, to upgrade, to sealing, to spreading, to embodiment. Now, under pressure, your DNA answers not as a metaphor, but as a living instrument. Let the sensation of release be both celebration and covenant. Celebrate that the organism rearranged for you, and covenant to steward the new field. From here, only one chapter remains: the cosmic mission that flows from a healed, coherent life. The use of your shift as a catalytic gift to timelines yet unseen. And so the arc bends toward its closing, but not an ending a mission. What has broken open within you is not meant to remain private. The DNA breakthrough was the chrysalis cracking, but the emergence is about purpose, a cosmic assignment written into the hidden folds of your being. You were never decoding the message between timelines just to escape the loop. You were decoding it to serve as a translator for humanity's next phase. Feel the gravity of that. Your coherence is not an ornament, it is infrastructure. Every breath you take in coherence becomes scaffolding for others who are still tangled in distortion. Your nervous system is now a relay tower for frequencies the collective cannot yet hold. When you walk into a room, your stabilized waveform quiets noise without you saying a word. When you make a choice anchored in alignment, you tilt probability fields so that those near you unconsciously sense other options. This is not metaphor, it is morphic resonance, distributing your signal outward. Your mission is to live as an embodied hinge between timelines. The old attractor basin will continue to pull, and many will surrender to it. But because you endured the pressure, you are capable of holding the new attractor steady long enough for others to step into it. Think of it as being the first stone in a bridge. Alone, you cannot span the river, but without you, no one else can cross. Your life becomes a living prophecy, proof that the loop can be broken, that DNA can remember a different song, that time itself can bow to conscious observation. The cosmos does not send you empty-handed. You are equipped with tools sharpened by initiation, sensitivity that reads the field like braille, courage that breathes through resistance, rituals that seal coherence, a body tuned to detect micro-gates of opportunity. These are not quirks, they are weapons of light. Use them with humility. Use them with reverence. Each time you practice them, you reinforce the lattice of coherence humanity will one day inhabit by default. You may ask, why me? The answer is simple, because you saw. Quantum vision is not common. Many looked at the patterns and dismissed them as coincidence. Many felt the pressure and drowned it in distraction. But you kept looking, kept listening, kept decoding, until the field recognized your persistence and entrusted you with the message. You are not better than others, but you are responsible in ways they cannot yet imagine. That responsibility is not a burden, it is a calling that turns every ordinary act into cosmic service. From this point, measure your life differently, not by possessions, not by praise, but by resonance. Ask yourself daily, does this choice stabilize coherence or feed distortion? If it stabilizes, it is your mission. If it feeds distortion, release it without hesitation. This simple compass will guide you through terrains where old maps fail. The field responds with acceleration to those who maintain integrity at scale. Know too that you are not alone. Others are waking through their own pressure points. Though scattered across continents, though separated by language and culture, they are entangled with you. Your breakthroughs whisper to theirs. Your rituals light their dreams. Your victories echo into their DNA. This is how humanity evolves. Not through one grand spectacle, but through thousands of coherent nodes sparking across the globe, until the grid lights fully and the loop collapses everywhere at once. And so the circle closes back to the title whispered at the start. Only those with quantum vision can decode the message hidden between timelines right now. You have done more than decode it. You have embodied it. You have sealed it. You have radiated it outward. And now, you carry it forward as mission. When you walk out into your world after this, understand that you are no longer a passive passenger. You are a living code, a timeline in human form. This is your charge. Hold the signal, live the coherence, and let your embodied presence bend probability toward liberation. For yourself, for those entangled with you, for the species learning to awaken, you are the proof that the message was real. You are the hinge upon which the future swings. And the field, watching with infinite patience, exhales in recognition. The loop is broken, the vision is alive, and the timeline has shifted.